got my arch all cut, and I got my imposts cut too, plus the finial. That wasn't easy. But now, I want to take the block of the impost. This mortise is into the impost, the finial does. But I want to take the block and mortise it into the post itself, to the 6x6 post. And to do that, I got to make a router template. A lot of people, when they're cutting mortises with a template, whether it's for a block of wood like this, or for hardware or hanging doors or something, they use a pattern bit. A pattern bit has a bearing guide on the top of it. A trimming bit, for like laminate trimming or trimming edges or something, has a bearing guide on the bottom of it. With a bearing guide on the top, there's a couple of problems I've found when you're using templates. Number one, if you're using a template and you're riding the inside of the template with the bearing, and the template starts filling up with sawdust, sometimes the bearing can start riding on the sawdust instead of the edge of the template. And to me, that's always been a little bit frustrating. But a lot of people are dealing with it. It's not a problem. You just blow the sawdust out and start over again. But let's say I want to make a cut for the hardware, for let's say a strike on a door. And I want to cut down 1/8 of an inch. I'd have to have a 1/2 inch bit so I wouldn't cut too deep. But if I wanted to put in a dust bucket, it was a T-strike and I wanted to put in a dust bucket and I wanted to go deeper, I'd have to have a longer bit. So I'd have to switch bits or switch routers. That's why I prefer to use a template guide. This is a template guide. This is not a collet. A collet is this guy right here. The thing that holds your router bit into the router. That's a collet. This is a template guide, and it's slightly bigger than the router bit you're using. Templates are usually made 1/16 of an inch wider than the actual hardware. It's an 1/8 inch overall. I'll explain all of that in just a minute. And that means that when you make your templates, you make them 1/8 of an inch bigger, and your template guide never chews up the inside of the template. That's another reason I prefer to use a template guide rather than a pattern bit like this. The other thing that's cool about using the template guide is if you want to go really deep, like I do when I often put in extension flush bolts, and I have a template like this, where I cut first just 1/8 of an inch deep for the face of the hardware itself, and then I bury the bit in real deep for the actual mechanism of the flush bolt. With a plunge router, I can just drop that bit as deep as I need to, or bring it up and cut real shallow for just the face of the hardware itself. The template guide measures exactly 5/8 of an inch OD, and the bit's a 1/2 inch. So that means there's going to end up being a 1/16 of an inch offset between the template guide and the cut. I just have to add 1/8 of an inch to the inside dimension of my template. So for this block, which measures 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, I just have to make the ID of the template 4 inches. Then I can mortise the post, and then this impost will fit right inside of that mortise, and my cool little finial will hang down below it. I start by ripping some stock to 4 inches and then cross-cutting it so I have pieces for the center and for the ends of the template, and I drill pocket holes in each of the interior pieces. I use 2P10 to stick that template together real quick, and I use a template inside of a template to ensure that the inside dimension of that final template is exactly the right opening. Then I screw the thing together with pocket screws, run it through my surface planer to get it nice and smooth, and then turn it upside down and put cleats on it so I can center that template on the post. Then it's just a matter of routing out the mortise, squaring up the corners with a corner chisel, and setting my impost right into that mortise.